I was born in La Plata, Argentina, in 1960. La Plata is a university town 40 miles south of Buenos Aires. I had a very happy childhood in Argentina, and of course when you are there, everything is quote unquote normal, but nothing was normal really. So by the time I was in the university, I decided that I really needed to leave because there was no freedom. And I left in 1983. I went to Jerusalem and I lived there for 3 years, and then I came to America. I did a PhD at the University of Pennsylvania, and then I moved to Massachusetts. And since then, I'm here since 1990 or 91, here in Boston. How did America change since I moved here? Well, first of all, it took me several years to understand where I was. First of all, because of the language and also because of the culture. But I do believe one thing that to me is evident, especially here in Boston, where I live. When I arrived to Boston, the Latino population was very small, and now it's huge. I mean, I always noticed when I used to go to New York that I could speak Spanish with half of the city, but never in Boston. And now it happens that Boston has been Latinized in a profound way. I come from a family that loved music. My father was a physician. My mother was a piano teacher. She had been first a very good concert pianist, but then she had 4 children, so she switched to teaching. And so I grew up with music, and I never made a conscious decision, I want to be a composer. I always, the piano was always in the house, was part of the house, and I always sat and played and improvised, and then I started to invent, so to speak, little pieces, and it was a pretty organic process. I feel that to compose is almost, is to keep a journal of your life, not just your outside life, so to speak, but of your inner life. There are works that deal with big questions like death, the transcendence of life, or love, or the questions that we all ask ourselves, right? You don't have to be an artist to ask yourself those questions. The beauty of being an artist is that you can try to answer those questions through your work. In art, like Picasso said, there is no past and present and future. All great art is present. So when you write a certain piece of music, you are actually talking to the other composers that dealt with the same question and answered that question with their own idioms. I am interested in so many different areas in music. I write symphonies or symphonic works, opera, oratorio. I collaborate with rock and roll groups, with Romanian gypsy bands. I write for films. So I have so many incredible experiences because all these people are different. When you work on a film and you have dinner at 3 a.m. in a tent with a carpenter and a horse trainer, and then you work the next week with a great orchestra like Chicago Symphony Orchestra and Yo-Yo Ma and Gustavo Dudamel, this new wonderful Venezuelan conductor, and the conversation goes somewhere else, or the experience is different. Or being in Romania, in a gypsy village, and partying for a night and a half. And at the same time making music. I think, in a way, being a musician is never growing up, but in a good way. It's always, every day is a little bit unexpected. I believe that music is a distillation of life in sound. So it depends on what question I'm dealing with at the moment, where the inspiration will come from. For instance, if I'm dealing with, let's say, love. Well, love is translated into a great melody to me, with sweeping harmony. So then that's what. But what inspires me is the possibility of love in that case. Every day is not the same when you are a composer, and like when you're a person. I mean, you have good periods in your life and bad periods, and I would say that the great lesson of discipline is knowing that even if you are not quote unquote inspired, if you still sit at the piano and you say, well, nothing is coming, I'm inhibited, I hit a block, so to speak. Well, you have your predecessors, so I play Bach or Mahler or Verdi or, and by playing them I get into, I don't know, it's like the inhibitions disappear because I see, look what he's doing here, and I don't know, it's like getting like a warming up of the mind, of the heart, of the ears. I had, of course, like everyone, my student period, my youth period where I was exploring, then my period where I was consciously modern, so to speak, and then where I wanted my music to have the scope of the romantic composers, and be more inclusive and not modernistic, not so conceptual. Then a period where I realized that, or I felt that the most important thing is rhythm, and everything has to be subservient to rhythm, and that's perhaps the story of, or the essence of the Passion. Then when I wanted to pursue a music in which harmony and melody would be just one thing, and I wanted something with many hues and densities, and of a more sustained growth. There are periods that are sometimes propelled by specifically musical issues, like what is melody today? What is harmony today? And periods that are propelled by life questions, mortality, how do you deal with, and then you translate those questions into music. I feel I am now searching for a music that travels long distances, so to speak, and I'm trying to find the substance that will sustain that long journey. If this lucky life continues, I'll be very happy. Lucky in the sense of collaborating with incredible artists, dreaming of new musical journeys that will be conveyed to audiences by great interpreters. That sounds like a beautiful life. One thing that I would hope that all immigrant artists will always be proud of and never forget is their own stories and their own the story that that only they can tell. I think one problem both for immigrant artists and non-immigrant artists is that there is always going to be people that will tell you this is what is important, this is what is not important, and usually what they tell you is not important is where you come from, whether you come from Argentina or New Jersey. So I would say today that everyone has a tremendous story to tell, and you just have to be that, if you are an immigrant or if you are from the quote-unquote most boring place in the planet. There is a great story to tell, so just tell it.